Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm going over my 2023 NFL playoff and Super Bowl predictions. I do this on the channel every couple of weeks, and now that I am officially back from school, I'll probably be doing a couple more before the end of the season. So let's get right into it. First off, we have the current NFL playoff picture. I usually only have the top 8 seeds, but because there's so many teams tied right now, I'm just including everybody. In the AFC, we have the Ravens at 1, the Dolphins at 2, Kansas City and Jacksonville at 3 and 4. And then from 5 through 10, we have a 6-way tie at 7 and 6 between the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, Denver Broncos, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Buffalo Bills. In the NFC, we have the Niners at the 1 seed and the Cowboys at the 2 seed at 10 and 3. The 3 seed at 9 and 4 is the Detroit Lions. At 6 and 7, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 4 seed. And in the 5 seed, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at 10 and 3. The 6 seed is the Vikings at 6 and 7, and then the Packers, Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, and Saints are all also at 6 and 7, tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for that 7th seed. So in the NFC, there's a lot more teams contending for the playoffs. In the AFC, there's a lot less teams contending. There's a lot of teams contending, but not quite as many as in the NFC. In 2023, I think that the top 7 seeds in the AFC will fall to the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Broncos, and the Texans. And in the NFC, I have the Niners, Eagles, Lions, Falcons, Cowboys, Rams, and Seahawks. So for the most part, I was doing the tiebreakers by looking at schedules, looking at matchups, which teams I think have the easiest schedule and the best matchups. In the NFC South, I picked the Falcons to win over the Saints and the Buccaneers, simply because they've already played Tampa twice. And they have an easy schedule coming up. They have a risk-free game against the Saints because they already have one win over them, and then they have the Bears, and I know the Bears are improving, but they have the Bears, and they have the Panthers, and they just have a fairly easy schedule to finish off the season. I think that they're the most likely team to finish 3-1 of the last 4, and so I think that they have the best chance of winning that division. I have the Rams and Seahawks finishing 3-1. For the other teams, tied at 6 and 7 to go 9 and 8. Seattle is the best team out of the 6 and 7 teams, in my opinion. They've had a really hard schedule coming recently. I think that they're going to lose to the Eagles next week to fall to 6 and 8, and then win 3 games in a row to make the playoffs. If they beat the Eagles next week, I think that they're a lock at this point. But it's a tough situation for them because they are a really good team, but they've had an insanely difficult schedule. As for the Rams have played very good recently. They've been a top team in the NFC recently, with their only losses being to some of the best teams in the league, like the Ravens. I think that they're going to continue to keep putting up 30-plus points in their final remaining games, and their only loss is going to come to the 49ers. The rest of their games, I expect them to win. I have Dallas at 13 and 4 and Philly at 14 and 3, mostly because the Eagles have a cakewalk for their final 4 games. They should not lose a game in their last 4. If they do, then I don't expect them to win anything in the playoffs. As for Dallas, they have a significantly harder schedule. I think that they'll probably finish 3-1. They could go 4-0, but I think 3-1 is more likely. The Lions have a pretty mid schedule. I think 2-2 is pretty fair. In the AFC, we have the Ravens at 12 and 5, the Chiefs at 11 and 6, Jaguars at 11 and 6, Dolphins at 11 and 6, and the Browns, Broncos, and Texans at 10 and 7. So Kansas City and Jacksonville are both 8 and 5. Miami's 9 and 4. I have Miami going 2-2 in their last 4 games. They have a very tough schedule to finish off the season. The Chiefs and the Jaguars also have fairly hard, well, not fairly hard, but their schedules are a little bit easier than Miami's, and I think that they'll most likely finish 11 and 6. I could definitely see either of them finishing 10 and 7 though, because neither of them have been playing very well recently. The Ravens I have finishing off the season 2-2 with an extremely difficult schedule, although I think 13 and 4 is very likely. For the Browns, Broncos, and Texans, the Browns are 8 and 5. I think that they'll finish off the season 2-2. I think that they're the most likely team to get into the wild card outside of the division winners because of their 8-5 record right now. The Broncos and the Texans are the two teams I have finishing 3-1. I think that C.J. Stroud is going to come back from injury after next week, and I think that he's going to play phenomenally to bring their team to the playoffs. And for the Broncos, I think that they're going to finish 3-1. Their schedule is a little difficult, but I think that they are in a good spot with momentum. I think Russell Wilson's going to do everything he can to make the playoffs. So, in the first round of the playoffs, the Ravens and the 49ers got a bye. I have the Texans beating the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Jaguars beating the Browns, and the Dolphins beating the Browns, and the Jaguars beating the Broncos. So, yes, I have the Texans upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs. I think I had this in my last prediction video as well, but because of how the Chiefs have been playing recently, I feel even more solidified in this opinion. I think it's going to be tough for Kansas City to get out of the wild card round just because it's going to be a wild card round. I think that Kansas City has been inconsistent recently, and I think that they might just not be a very strong team this season. And I think that if they play against Houston or another team with a young quarterback, then they could have issues. I have the Dolphins beating the Browns. I think that Joe Flacco is going to have a respectable season, but I think that Miami is ultimately a better team. I would love to see Joe Flacco in the AFC divisional round, though. That would be very hype. As for the Jaguars, I think that they do have a more stable team than the Broncos do, but I could very likely see an upset from the Broncos if they have enough momentum going into the playoffs. With the Cowboys, in the NFC, I have the Cowboys beating the Falcons, I have the Lions beating the Rams, and I have the Eagles beating the Seahawks. Eagles, Seahawks, and Lions, Rams should be straightforward games, but I can definitely see the Rams upsetting the Lions. The Lions are an inconsistent team for a top team in the league. They play very well. They're 9-4, but they've had a lot of losses to bad teams, and the Rams have been putting up a lot of offensive points recently. Because of the Lions' defensive issues in the past, I could see the Rams winning in a 41-38 blowout or something of the sort. And I think that although the Rams have a possibility of winning, the Lions are more likely to win. I think it would be really fun to see this Rams team bring it back after all of these issues they've had this season. The Eagles should be able to beat Seattle. They've already beaten them once this season. And then for Dallas, Dallas should just demolish the Falcons. Moving on to the next round in the NFC and AFC championship games, I have the Ravens against the Dolphins and the 49ers against the Lions. Overall, I think that the Ravens should make it out of the AFC. If the Ravens were against Kansas City, I'd be picking the Ravens easily. Same thing with Houston. I think most teams I would pick the Ravens against in the AFC. There's no team anywhere near as consistent as them, and even though Miami's only a game behind, they have not really played that great against strong teams. As for Miami, I do have them beating Jacksonville, but that's just because Jacksonville's been more inconsistent recently. I think that Miami has an explosive offense, and although Tyreek Hill may or may not be injured for the upcoming couple of weeks, I do think that he's going to have a phenomenal playoff run. I think that the Dolphins team are going to step it up, and they're going to be able to beat Jacksonville. In the NFC, I have the Lions beating the Eagles, and I have the Cowboys losing to the 49ers. I do think the Eagles have a better team than the Lions, but the Eagles have been The Eagles have lost 2 games in a row, and not only lost them, but they've been mauled in 2 games in a row. The Lions have lost to some bad teams, but they've played very well against other strong teams. I think that they're going to put up a decent playoff run. I think that they're going to upset the Eagles. And then for the Cowboys-Niners game, I think it's going to be closer than the regular season game, but I think that the Niners should still be able to win. Off of those championship games, I have my Super Bowl prediction being the Ravens against the 49ers. This was my Super Bowl prediction a couple weeks ago as well, so hopefully in a couple weeks from now I will be changing it. Hopefully something drastic happens. But for right now, I think that the Niners and the Ravens are the 2 most consistent teams in the league. I did change my score prediction, though. I now have the score prediction at 31-27. The Ravens' defense has not been quite as dominant recently. They've been in a lot of high-scoring fights, and I think that the 49ers' offense is equipped enough to make it a high-scoring fight, but ultimately Lamar and the Ravens will win. So Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.